Hi guys, and welcome back not just to a brand new oil painting tutorial but also a brand new year. What have I got for you guys today? Well, I'm doing a beautiful red cardinal from the Americas, so let's roll that intro. Let's see what it's all about. Hi everybody, welcome back. As I said just now, not only is it a brand new oil painting tutorial for you, but it's also a brand new year. And I just wanted to wish each and every one of you happiness, prosperity and good health during the course of 2023. And may you enjoy all those painting experiences that I'm sure you're itching to get into. Now, what I'm doing today is a beautiful cardinal. I've wanted to paint a decent picture of a cardinal for many, many years. I've never really had the reference to do it, and I do believe in trying to find my own reference for as many of my paintings as is possible to do. And I decided that I had an old picture of a cardinal. It wasn't that great, but I felt that it would be good enough to do this beautiful tutorial for you today. So that's exactly what I've done, and I've built the painting up. And if you're watching this on Patreon, you're going to get it in several parts as a full video, and if you're watching on YouTube, the whole thing will be condensed down to a manageable amount for you to enjoy. But either way, the reference for this will be over on my Patreon for you to download and have a go at this one yourself. So pop on over to the Patreon, have a look, download it and enjoy the process of it. In the meantime, enjoy this painting. I'll catch each and every one of you at the other end. Take care. Hi guys, and welcome back. Now, before we get on painting this lovely little cardinal, let's just talk quickly about the brushes and a few of the products. Now, these brushes, as always, are Rosemary & Company in their entirety. I really only want to use their brushes. They are stunning, handmade brushes and available pretty much around the world, I believe. But certainly these ones have been in the wars. They've had a heck of a lot of use, and in varying degrees of good and bad condition. Now, I've got to say, I'm not the world's best when it comes to looking after my brushes, although I do tend to lecture my students on the benefits of. I don't seem to learn the lessons myself. But my favorite choices out of these are the evergreens, which is the greenish ones, of course. There are a few Shiraz in here. There's very little to choose about either of them, but indeed, if you go over to Rosemary's website and you choose any brushes, then when it comes to checking out your order, please just put my name in capitals, unbroken, Paul Apps, in the affiliate link, and that will help me out a little bit, and I would thank you very much in doing that. But as for these brushes, I'm not sure which ones we'll use. I do favour the daggers above all, and of course the riggers. So those will certainly feature in this painting, but as to which ones else I use, I have no idea at this time. The board I'm using is a pre-coloured Loxley board. It's a wrap-round canvas. It's nothing expensive or extravagant, and these can be obtained quite inexpensively. And the surface has just been pre-coated with a warm colour so that I can see my lights and darks. Okay, so the colours that I'm using today are burnt umber, and oxide of red, transparent oxide of yellow. I also have, whether I use it or not I don't know, I have some King's Blue Deep on here. I also have a smidge of phthalocyanin green. I have what's left of my ultramarine blue and my phthalocyanin blue. Now, those of you who have been watching recent videos will know that I have tried to cut down on the expensive paints so that you guys have a chance to follow what I'm doing with a reasonable cost when it comes to buying paints and colour. So I have my magenta. You could equally have alizarin crimson, and I have here, this is cadmium red. I may well use it in this painting. But I also have one here which is called Pyrrole Red, which is cheaper than the cadmium, but I really want some fiery reds, so I do have this one ready if I want to use it. This is just Yellow Lake. It's not cadmium yellow. You could be fooled into thinking that it was. It's not a bad mimic, gotta say. This one is, of course, cadmium lemon yellow. Very expensive, as is cobalt blue, which we aren't using at the moment, and simply some titanium white to finish. So I have all these colors on hand, and I'm going to just simply try and block in. I've got Zested. You can use Gamsol, something like that, which is an odorless thinner. All I want to do is block in some lights and darks very, very quickly and establish this bird's background, as it were. I'm going to put in a little bit of the blue into the umber. It gives it a slight greenish effect. I can actually make that even more so by adding some of the transparent oxide of yellow. Quite like what that's doing. But sometimes you can do little things like this with that background behind, and in all honesty, you don't really need to do too much more. It's almost painted itself in the one sitting, the one effort, as it were. I'm not going to suggest that it will in each case, but sometimes little elements that you've put in your painting, you know, you might think, I don't really want to lose that. I'm going to keep that because it's working, and I'm going to like that and live with that. And that's fine. And a painting really stands or falls on how you feel about it when you're painting it. You know, you can do something like this and you like what you've done, and it's not a mistake. It only becomes an error or a mistake or something that needs changing if you no longer like it, if it no longer works, if something has changed in the dynamic of the picture to cause you to think that I have to now do something different, because where I was happy with it before, I'm no longer happy with it now, and therefore I have to change something. Okay, it's quite a strong shape, so I need to break some of that up with one or two things like this, grasses that will come across and break up that form, so it's not a big giant sort of wedge shape going off the canvas. But I think we're working quite nicely. Now what I want to do now is I want to clean that brush out. I'm going to come down to a slightly smaller but still use a dagger. I want to come in with some of the Pyrrole Red colour, and this is going to start blocking in our beautiful cardinal. Now this cardinal is a wonderful coloured bird. I've always loved looking at them. Never seen them in great numbers when I've been in America. I think they're quite shy, but I've never actually come across one and sort of sat there for ages looking at it. This one was feeding. I went to Now, where was it? I can't remember exactly the location, but I was in Charleston, and I was, or was I? Do you know, I actually don't think I was. I think this is down in Florida. This is down in Naples, Florida. And I was a guest of my gallery owner at the time. I was getting ready to put a show on. And yeah, I think that's what I was doing. I think that's where I was. Nowhere near South Carolina and the shows up there. So shows, it's been a long time, got to say. Okay, I'm not going to do any more to that. I want to come around with this dark here, over the eye, and then it's sort of, there is a bit more at the back there, but not too much, just a suggestion. Nice under there. I think I just made my eye a little smaller, but not to worry. I'm going to come in with the center of the eye. Right, so tapping away very carefully and let the paint sort of ease out from the brush, extend itself on the canvas, and hopefully we've got a bit of a nice eye going on there. There's quite a bit of dark over the back. I've allowed for that. There's quite a dark statement down through the top part of the tail feathers, like there, and I think they need to be a bit longer on mine than the photo. There we go, just give it a bit more room, but it has dried quite well, and it's certainly ready for me to carry on and come in with the next stage of this painting. And for that, we are going to add more and more detail. So what I'm going to be doing now is come in maybe with a small dagger, which I've got there, and also I'm going to be using maybe one or two of these small brights, the small flats, and a rigger, and this rigger is a number 2 from Rosemary, and I have several other options, but those are primarily what I shall be using for this section of the painting. Okay, so first things first then, I want to start looking more and more at the bird itself, and I'm going to come in with some of the Pyrrole Red, almost pure. Just want to bring that brightness all the way around there. Now the dark color that we had to begin with is enough to sort of stay where it is and not have too much going on in terms of increasing that. Now I am working steadily, I'm not working fast, and that should be observed. I really feel that, you know, if you work too fast, then you just miss things, and you put statements where you don't ordinarily want a statement to be put. I'm making a little bit of a dull orangey colour with some of the yellow lake and some of the red. Just coming down into this part of the beak, it is somewhat yellower. Okay, and then one or two little taps of this, just suggesting that the feathers on the bib are actually picking up the odd bit of light. Not all over, it's not speckled, anything like that. They're just very, very subtle. Maybe a little bit deeper and not so obvious a blue, just a little bit more. Through the back here, I'm going diving back into that violet colour again. Not really where I want it to be. I'm just going to come across there. I may come back in with this little area later. I think it needs to be a lot red. Okay, I'm just going to bring a little bit more red into this dark just to make it a little fresher. I'm using Pyro, a little bit of magenta. And just try and look at some of the knuckle here of the bird, trying to create the form. And it is always worth going into the detail of your picture so that you can make an assessment and put in the detail as you feel that it needs. Now, you're not going to try and put every fold and subtle change in the skin as it's stretched along the bony parts of these toes. You can only put in so much information before it becomes very confusing and just really doesn't work out. So I'm just coming up with the back toe there. There's a couple of little things I want to change, and by that I mean a little bit of detail in the eye to start with. I just want to put a fine line through there just to suggest That little extra bit of light in the eye there, that works very nicely. A little bit more colour in there, a little bit of light, a little bit of bluish colour in that part of the back. I think that's a little too far. Let's just come back. Just got a little bit too blue then. Just take that through there. Nice little highlight in the top. Needs to be a bit darker, a little bit of blue back in there, a little bit of umber into that too, a bit more of the blue, and just let that's a little too blue. Let's come back with some umber, warm that up again. That just gives me that sort of deeper recessed shape to this area which had just got lost. Just a couple of little taps that way with the brush just to suggest that veining again. And a little darker accent under here, suggesting that there's a slight bulge or fold in that leaf, and then I'm going to bring that all the way this way. Hopefully now we've got a little bit more gap here, a little wider at the top, and then that works nicely for the fold over here, catching a little bit more light at this point. And I think really and truly that's all I need to do. Now I'm going to come in with some oxide of yellow, a little bit of umber, maybe a tap of the blue, so I don't want it to be too full of vigorous colour. Nice warmish shadow colour coming down there. Alright, so we're done with that for the moment. I'm just going to come back in, going to mix up some of my greens. Now I'm going to be using this cobalt colour, and I'm going to add to that a little bit of the lemon. Now these are very expensive colours, unfortunately. You could do, let's try a different way to help. Let's go in with our phthalo green, quite an aggressive green as I've always told you, and a little bit of that yellow. Now that is not quite as it was, but put a bit of white to that and see how electric that is compared to this one. So what we've got to do is play around with this colour a little bit more. Let's come in with some of our yellow oxide, constantly mixing around now, just trying to play with that colour a little bit, cooling it down to where we can turn around and say it's not that bad. It's quite a good mimic. We're getting somewhere slightly lighter. I've gone in with a little bit too much white to begin with, but we are killing off the accent. You can see a little bit of that green as it was. Here we've got a little duller colour, which I think works very, very well. So let's just start adding a few bits of green into our picture plane. Okay, I think we're done. I think we've had a good run at this, and I might put it down for a little while, for a few weeks, and check it out later when it's all dry, put it in different positions, study it, see how I feel about it, and if I feel that I want to come back in and rework a section, that's fine. I think you should do that. I think you should study the work with an oil, certainly, even pastels as well, where you have the ability to pop back into them and add information to them further down the road that you may have missed on the first pass, as it were, on this initial stages of the painting. So that's what I shall do. I shall call it a day for this painting. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've had a lot of fun doing it, and you know, it's always an adventure. It's always lovely to see how something may really work. I'll put a little bit more red in there just to work with all those greens. Sorry, I digress. It's just nice to sort of, each time you do a painting like this, it's just, you're never quite sure how it's going to work out. You set out with a set of intent, and that sometimes works flawlessly, and other times things just take a little bit extra to get to where you want them to be, but it's so enjoyable when you actually finally get to your destination where you're painting.